is here to discuss exactly that history. You were so popular earlier in the week, Kay, that we just had to bring you back. This relationship kicks off in 1931. That's when the United States formally recognized Saudi Arabia and established diplomatic relations. What was behind that decision?
Yeah, so in 1931, the Saudi ruling class was looking for international recognition, and they struck a deal with the United States. John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil was given the right to explore Dhahran's oil fields in exchange for the creation of U.S.-Saudi diplomatic ties. Fast forward to 1943, the relationship expands when Italy bombs Saudi Arabia, and Saudi kind of realizes they don't have a military to defend itself, and then FDR says the defense of Saudi Arabia is vital to the defense of the United States. It's an interesting statement, but if you take the U.S.'s interest in Saudi's oil into account, it makes a lot of sense. And then in 1951, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers creates its first military installment in Saudi Arabia.
And then we fast forward a few decades to 1971, which saw the collapse of the international gold standard. Why was this development crucial to the U.S.-Saudi relationship?
So in 1944, the Bretton Woods system was established, and this was the international gold standard being turned into an international dollar gold standard. So the international community decided it was easier to transact in U.S. dollars, so they equated dollars to gold by pricing an ounce of gold at $35 per ounce, and this peg was up to the U.S. to maintain, and it was done on the honor system. The U.S. violated this exchange rate by printing more dollars than they had in gold. They were essentially printing receipts for gold that they didn't have, and the international community caught on to this, and when they tried to get their gold back, the U.S. President Nixon on August 15th, 1971, suspended the convertibility of gold into dollars. So what happened is, before 1971, all the countries in the world needed dollars on hand because that represented their gold reserves. After 1971, they were just holding on to paper. So the U.S., these countries didn't need the U.S. dollar anymore. So the U.S. was looking for a way to make the international community dependent on the dollar again. And they found that reason in 1973 when this oil crisis began. So in 1973, the Yom Kippur War starts. And the United States supports Israel, as it usually does, and Saudi Arabia, being an Arab country, supports the Palestinians. And in order to retaliate against the U.S., they create this oil embargo. They do that by decreasing their oil production, which raises the price of oil for Americans.
Right.
And there are these long oil lines, there are oil rations, gas stations shut down. And Henry Kissinger goes to Saudi Arabia in 1974 to strike a deal to end the oil embargo. And this deal is struck, the terms of that deal, the first being that Saudi Aramco, which was back then Aramco, was gradually to be turned over to Saudi Arabia. This was a decade-long process. And then the U.S. also pledged further military support and arms sales to Saudi Arabia.
I think we have a list of some more aspects of this deal, right? This is what you're talking about?
Yes. So if you ever wonder why the U.S. has been arming Saudi to the teeth, it comes from this deal. The original military support was a few $1 million, then it graduated to hundreds of millions of dollars, then to a few $1 billion. Now, Trump is funding the Saudis they're arming them at the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. And then on the Saudi side of the deal, Saudi agrees to only sell oil in US dollars and gets OPEC to do the same thing. This is the birth of the petrodollar. So the petrodollar is basically a system where all countries in the world need a constant supply of dollars on hand to buy oil. It's the only currency that will buy oil, and it's that way to this day. And that, as we spoke about earlier, that once again creates a situation where every single country in the world needs US dollars on hand. It really strengthens the US dollar. And then, Saudi also lowered their oil prices, ending the crisis.
So Saudi Arabia essentially saved the U.S. dollar by saying, look, we'll only accept this currency for purchasing oil. How does all of this lead to today, the situation we're seeing in Yemen, and sort of the modern relationship we see with Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, so obviously there's a lot of money and power involved in this relationship, and it only strengthened after the 1974 deal. And the U.S. and Saudi had to kind of put aside some of their differences, and they realized a lot of their interests actually aligned. So with Israel, for example, after the Yom Kippur War, the U.S. said, your problem isn't Israel, they're not really a threat to you, the real threat is communism. And, today you see MBS being very, pro-Israel. He recently told the Palestinian Authority, you're asking for too much in this peace deal, shut up and, take the deal you're given. Same thing with Wahhabism. in this case, the United States had to cozy up to Saudi. Wahhabism is the radical ideology held by many of the Saudi ruling class. It's a literal interpretation of Islam that most Muslims don't adhere to, but it sees the world through this, Sunni Shia conflict, and it often blames Iran, the major Shia power in the region, as being behind a lot of these spats in, say, Syria or Yemen, as we talked about. Saudi sees them as proxy wars, sites of proxy wars between those two powers. And, the U.S. and Saudi Arabia both have a vested interest in opposing Iran, but when it comes to communism, Saudi Arabia wasn't really against communism up until this deal was signed. The U.S. has been fighting communism during the Cold War, and they were opposing it in Afghanistan, and Saudi really picked up the slack there by funding the Mujahideen alongside the United States, which later became Al-Qaeda.
We all know how that story goes. Briefly on the oil price manipulation.
Yeah, so the U.S. will often tap Saudi Arabia, which is the largest oil exporter in OPEC. They control 25% of OPEC's oil exports. They'll tap them and say, hey, can you raise your oil production, which lowers the oil price? That hurts countries that rely on oil export revenue like Russia, Iran, Venezuela, countries that, the United States and Saudi both dislike. And, this goes as deep as, in 2002, Saddam Hussein tried to sell oil in euros, and the U.S., that was a threat to the petrodollar system, and the U.S. invaded Iraq over that. In 2011, Muammar Gaddafi tried to create a gold-backed dinar currency for the African continent, and NATO promptly killed him. So this is a very lucrative business, and it all goes back to this petrodollar system. That relationship needs to be maintained in order for both U.S. and Saudi to profit.
And it's a very dangerous game. As we mentioned, though, some of these countries, Iran, Venezuela, Russia, are looking to move away from the dollar system and change all of this. So we'll see what happens. Producer Kay Pritzker, thanks so much.
Brakathiya Howell, Brakathiya Howell Shai, Brakathiya Howell, Brakathiya Howell Shai, Brakathiya Howell, Brakathiya Howell Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, B'Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to the hopefully elect out there, you brothers that sincerely do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. I'm the priest Shaman, and this week's topic is going to be entitled Trade Wars and Sanctions are fulfilling biblical prophecy. All right, because I'm going to start with the book of Revelations, the 17th chapter, and I'm going to give brothers a heads up. I'm not going to detail. I'm not going to, in other words, I'm not going to go in this particular chapter beat by beat. If you want a thorough breakdown, you could just type in Revelations, the 17th chapter, Great Millstone, Revelations, the 17th chapter, Apostles or Elders of GMS. And the apostles and elder brothers, they go into it very deeply, but I'm just gonna just take out the points that I want. All right, for the simple fact, I didn't brief my memory too much on this particular chapter. I got the gist of it, but I don't want to give brothers the wrong information. So in other words, I don't want to say something I'm not 100% sure on. Even though I've been through this particular chapter before and watched the videos on it, it's not to all of my memory certain parts, so I don't want to go ahead and wing it. But I'm going to go through it and show you that there's certain things in this particular chapter that these sanctions and different trade wars that's going on right now between these particular nations, primarily being spearheaded by the United States, Israel, and the House of Saudi Arabia, are fulfilling biblical prophecies and setting the stage for World War III. Now, this is Revelation 17, and I'm going to start at 1. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Now, that great whore, as we're going to read down all the way to the bottom of the verse, that great whore is a city. And that city is America. So the great whore, all right, is America, and we're gonna see that. It says, verse 2, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitations of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So what's the wine of America's fornication? The democracy and all the ways and philosophies of America. As you can see, most of the world and most of the nations model their countries and cities after America. All right, you don't see us walking around with geishas or the woman walking around with geishas or you don't see people wearing Saudi head wraps. When you go around the world, you see people wearing suits and ties. All right, that was that American way. All right, and you see their women dressing less submissive and more provocative. So that ways of America and that democracy that's joined us, it's been spread throughout the whole world. All right, it says verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast full of names and blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now that's going into NATO and the ECC. All right, so we normally have this sign out here at camp, and I'm going to go ahead and show it. This is a sign we normally all bring out. It says the beast with the 7 heads and the 10 horns is NATO. All right, so you can see the 7 heads of the Greeks, the British, the Germanium Minor, Germanium Major, the Romans, the French, the Spanish. Okay, the beast pretty much is that Roman Empire all over again. All right, and America is that whore that you see on top. All right, now sign also. Oh shit, Slovakia. Oh man, Slovakia. Hope I didn't lose my scriptures. All right. Yeah, so continuing on. It says, and the woman was arrayed in purple. Oh yeah, so the 7 heads were those 7 nations, and the 10 horns were the 7 heads of those 7 nations, and the 10 horns were the original nations of the ECC, the European economic, the EEC, the European economic. Slovakia, brothers, it slipped my mind, but those original 10 nations, Slovakia, which is more than 10 now. All right, verse 4. It says, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And what you're taking away from this is you seeing a whore dressed in royalty. A filthy slut dressed in royalty, because purple is royalty. All right, so who's that filthy slut that has that royal appearance? That's America. Okay, because as you know, when you watch this video above, there was a time primarily after World War II when America had 2/3 of the world's gold, and it was a flourishing country, man. All right, and nations flocked to this country. Okay, it looked like a royal country. All right, but time revealed that, listen, man, this ain't no real country. This is a slutty whore. That's the appearance of a royal country, man. All right. It says, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abomination of the earth. That's America. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua. The blood of the saints is the Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, primarily the Southern Kingdom. 350 years of hangings and lynchings and rape, robberies, and murders. All right, and the Native Americans. Okay, all the different Israelites. All right, pursuant to this book of Psalms 148 and the last 2 verse, the saints are the Israelites, man. So the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, our blood has been shed, and it says of the martyrs Yahushua. So you have brothers that teach this thing that are going to be slain. Okay, here in America, and be martyrs. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast and that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and the 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, going into the Roman Empire. All right, being brought back to life, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Again, that's going into Rome. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. Mountains represents governments, those same particular governments that I showed you early on the picture. on which the woman sitteth. Okay, it says, and there are 7 kings, 5 are falling, one is, and the other is not yet come, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, the ECC, which later became NATO, all right, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Okay, they shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. So that's when these particular nations gather together and fight against Yahushua when he returns back. And you have people like Ronald Reagan that he spoke on this, and these different world leaders that said if there's a universal worldwide threat, that all the nations shall come together. They're speaking about future prophecy when our Lord Yahushua, which is a so-called black man, comes back to reclaim the kingdom of Israel. All right, to reclaim his kingdom and the people, his people, Israelites, being joint heirs, and these other nations becoming subjections. By the way, the real Israelites are real Jews and Negroes, okay? And them so-called white people you see over there in the land of Israel are not the real Israelites. They're Edomites, okay? Khazards, if you will, all right? For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. That's going into the elect. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Now here goes the point. It says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. So these different particular nations allied with the United States are going to hate the United States. When you look at NATO, what is it as it is today? Nations become a part of NATO as a means to cripple nations that rival the United States. For instance, last year Montenegro became a part of NATO in 2017. Not to gain any type of political advantage or anything like that with NATO, but ultimately they did it to crush it. They did it to crush Russia's economy. All right, so they have these different nations that are they're just using them. All right, as an extension of the United States Army, and nations are going to wake up to that and be pissed off, man. All right, even nations that are allied with America right now, such as Great Britain and France. All right. That's also written in the book of Jeremiah. Your mother shall be confounded. I'm going to bring it out. It says, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. That means they're going to shoot missiles upon this place, man. And the reporter above Russia Today, because most American media, you're not going to see nothing like this. This reporter brought it all out, man, all out. How the United States will fund terrorist groups, man. All right. So what they'll do is they'll fund terrorist groups and put those terrorist groups in countries that oppose them in the Middle East, such as Iraq, Iran, because they did overthrow Iran before and set up a puppet king, the first king of Iran, called the king of Shah. And it wasn't until the 1979 Iran revolution, that the Iranians got their land back. All right, so you people out there, you so-called Americans out there that's wondering why these different nations call you the Great Satan. All right, well, picture a foreign country coming in, rape, robbing, and murdering your people, using their natural resources. All right, would you not fucking hate them? So that's why America's hated throughout the world, man. These nations are getting pissed off with America. All right, and the Most High is making Esau a bear, having their tell upon themselves, man. So, pursuant to the book of Isaiah 47, all right, everybody's seeing this whore for what she is, man. All right, America for what it is, which is a filthy, wicked, cutthroat place, man. It says, verse 17, for the Most High have put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city. What great city? Babylon, man. Babylon the Great. All right, the daughter of Babylon, which reigneth over the kings of the earth, man. All right, so right now, pretty much America, all right, after the world wars, became the king of the earth, man, because they had all the gold and the dollar was backed by gold. And now The dollar is the international currency to trade oil. And guess what? Oil prices are down. Why is oil prices down? Well, if you watch the video, it's to fuck with Iran, Venezuela, and Russia. Because even though oil prices are down right now, the US dollar is up. So that doesn't make any sense. How can the US dollar be up if the price of gas, the price of crude oil is down and gas prices are still up? So they're manipulating the markets to fuck with other countries, man. And this is going to make these people pissed off, man. All right. You already see that a lot of nations got mad at America because Trump reneged on a nuclear deal between Iran, man. Which that nuclear deal was pretty much like this, man. What they said was, listen, we'll unfreeze all your we'll remove the sanction, all right? We'll unfreeze your money, meaning we're gonna give you back your money. All we need to do is have a thorough search to prove that you don't have any nuclear weapons. And when you go into that deal, it violated a lot of Iran's space, man. And it was the same thing they did with Iraq. They had this guy Benjamin Netanyahu, all right. He was saying for years that Saddam Hussein had nuclear weapons, but it was a lie. Now he's saying that Iran got nuclear weapons. But Iran called your bluff. They said, listen, man, y'all could come search us. Y'all could come search us all you want. And you know what, man? Trump reneged, saying they're not going to get anything out of it. So that made everybody mad. Because if the point was to prove that this nation is not making nuclear weapons, okay, and they saying, listen, come in and search us, and you saying we're not getting out of it, then it shows that America was a hypocritical nation, and they don't want to just prove that you have nuclear weapons. All right, because the fact that the Iranians said you could come in, that threw y'all off. That threw off the Americans' plans. Their plan was that their plan was for Iran to say, no, you can't just invade our country like that. And if Iran said that, then the U.S. will say, see, they are hiding something. All right, we have to go in there, just like they did with Iraq on top of the government. But Iran played it smart, man. And there's no way you're going to go in Iran, okay, and take over that city, because Russia's not going to allow you to have troops on their borders, man. For instance, there's no way America would allow Russia to take over Mexico, because Mexico's right there on their borders. So you think the Iranians are going to let you take over Syria and Iran and these different particular nations that's on their borders? Get the fuck out of here. That's going to start World War III, man. All right? Now what I want to do is I want to go through some of these other scriptures I got. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. All right, so all this stuff right here is in prophecy, man. America's doing they deeds. All right, America, Israel, okay, because Israel, they have their intelligence agency, which is the Mossad, their version of the CIA, okay, and they're doing a lot of cross behind the doors shit, man. That's pissing nations off. Because first of all, 32 nations over there in the Middle East doesn't recognize Israel as a state. So the fact that Saudi Arabia is doing backdoor deals with Israel, that's pissing off the people in Saudi Arabia, man. So America and Israel, man, they're going to get hit with some nukes, man. All right? Them lands is going to get hit with nukes, and there ain't going to be no inhabitants. Okay? The only difference between Israel and the United States is Israel is going to be built back up, but the United States is going to be a desolate wilderness forever and ever, man, after the Third World War. Now, this is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. It says, they also, because he transgressed by wine. I already told you what that wine was, man. His democracy, his philosophies, his ways, his lies. All right? All the ways of America, pretty much. He's a proud man, neither keepeth at home. Who's that? That's talking about the so-called white man. All right? Esau. They love to go around and conquer these particular lands, man. And if you know anything about the United States, if they go into a place, they do not leave. And there's over 800 bases, U.S. bases all over the world, man. So they don't keep at home, just like they did when they were the Romans. They kept expanding their empire, forgot about their main core, Italy, Rome, and guess what? They collapsed their economy. Same thing's going to happen with America. Neither keep it at home, who is largest, his desire is hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So America fulfilled this, all right? The rich, elite globalists, they fulfilling this. They want to conquer every fucking thing. Okay, so that's the nature of the so-called white man. He's not satisfied. And everywhere he goes, he just brings nothing but death and violence. All right? Shall not these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his? And who's fulfilling that right now? Is not that America? Is not that the elite banking families, all right, the Bilderberg groups that want to take over particular places like Iran, North Korea, and Cuba, because three nations right now, Iran, Cuba, and North Korea, are the only nations that don't have Rothschild-owned central banks. And it used to be five. Guess what they were? They were Sudan and Libya, man. That's how come the Sudanese hate America, man, and NATO. That's how come Libya hates these people, man, because NATO is just again an extension of the global elites, all right, and they'll go in there and use them, the U.S. Army, all right, to enforce their will upon peoples, man. So the nations are getting pissed off. It says, "How long? And to him that layeth himself with thick clay." What's that thick clay? The debt, man. All right, that debt. They love to spread that debt. In fact, that's how they got rich, through debt-based banking. And America, the United States, they're in a debt they could never get out of. Why is that? Because the U.S. dollar, all right, pursuant to 1971, was no longer the gold standard. It was no longer backed by gold. In other words, you couldn't redeem a dollar for gold, so it was pretty much worthless until Saudi Arabia saved your ass. All right, but the Federal Reserve, which is a private-owned corporation, there's nothing federal about the Federal Reserve. It's about as Federal Express. Is a private-owned corporation, all right, owned by three banking families, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and the Morgans, okay, where you get J.P. Morgan from, all right. They sell money to the United States with interest. So hypothetically speaking, if the United States was to wipe their debt to zero, the moment they start printing money, they'll be right back in debt again, man. So it's impossible for you to avoid that clay, that thick debt, man. All right, and that's how these elites work, man. All right, the World Bank, the IMF. If a third world country try to build itself up, what these Rothschild will do, it will loan them shit tons of money at a high ass interest rate, and it's just enough money to keep them in debt, but to not make them become a world power. All right, so these devils are crafty, man, and they use that debt, all right, which usury is against the scriptures, interest rates is against the scriptures, all right, to cripple economies and control different countries, man. Shall they not rise up suddenly, that shall bite thee, and awake, that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Yeah, man, so the different nations, all right, are going to start attacking, man. They're going to start getting pissed off, and you're seeing it right now. Even nations that are allied with America, all right? Nations that are part of NATO and the EU, okay? Britain, France, these nations, Germany, all right? They're going to attack that whore, America, man, and shoot missiles upon here. And the only way you're going to get delivered out of here is if you have the Lord's chosen, all right? Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans of your father's lineage, and the ones that are scattered amongst the different nations, man. All right, I'm talking about the ones that not necessarily might look like Israelites, all right, but through their genealogy way back when, they are Israelites, man. And how do you determine that? Through the Spirit, all right? Verse 8, because thou hast spoiled many nations, how you spoil many nations? By robbing their oil reserves, man. You want to take back the land of Iran, or what you're going to say is you're going to try to bring democracy and freedom. Listen, man, you think them people in Iran is jealous of America because we have freedom? You must be out your goddamn mind, man. All right, they want to keep this, they want to do their own thing, just like North Korea. They don't want to get involved in no international affairs, man. And that's how America was established, right? You're not supposed to be getting in everybody's business. But now they became an empire of the world and want to reap all the benefits of these particular nations, all right? And say fuck the nations that's putting in the labor. That's what got Iran mad in the first place after that First World War, because we was taking all their oils, their crude oil, and the people in Iran wasn't getting none of the benefits, man. So that's how America operates, man. They take the spoils, all right? Because it says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. Because of men's blood and for the violence of the land of the city and of all that dwell therein, man. And America, all right, when I say America, I'm talking about the America run by the devil himself, Esau, these so-called white people, all right, has been nothing but a bloody and violent city, man. It says, woe to him that covereth an evil covetousness to his house, that may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil, man. All right, and these white people love that, to set their nest on high, build space stations, Okay, skyscrapers. Which these are nothing. These are just modern caves, man. Because that's their dwelling. They love to dwell in caves, high ass caves. And you know anything about New York? The higher up you go, the more expensive the apartment, man. Okay. I'm going to the next scripture. So these nations are waking up, man. They're becoming pissed, man. And the Most High is making Esau bad because a lot of this information that was brought out in this Russia Today episode, right? You wouldn't normally see it, man. You know, it's something that would be sort of suppressed. But now the nations, such as Al Jazeera, is bringing on the light on Israel, man. Because Qatar, all right, has Qatar is under heavy pressure from Saudi Arabia, and Qatar is where Al Jazeera's base is, man. So these different nations are saying, fuck it, man. If they want to play like that, we're going to bring out the dirt on their ass. All right? And it's our job as a prophet to tell you that where this aligns with biblical prophecy, starting with the apostles and the elders, man. All right? Now, this is Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7. It says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. Okay? And we've already been, since the Habakkuk the 2nd chapter, Revelations the 17th chapter, now Jeremiah the 51 chapter is letting you know that Babylon is making all these nations drunk off that democracy. Okay? The American way, the Western way, this is how your government should be run. People say, man, fuck that, man. A lot of nations are going to go back to how they want to run things, which include communism. Okay, as you can see, Wahhabism, whatever, man. They're going to start doing their own thing and say, fuck America, man. It did none to benefit us, but bring us nothing but turmoil. It says the nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad, and the nations are getting pissed off, man. All right? Then Venezuela said, listen, man, fuck the dollar, because you putting all these sanctions and trade wars and these different things, okay, to cripple our economy, so we're just going to say, fuck the dollar, man. We're going to start selling our oils and making the EU, all right? The euro, the euro, our standard of currency, man. So... Hey, man, expect America to try to go up in Venezuela to bring them quote-unquote freedom and democracy, man. Because that's what they're going to say. It says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be, she may be healed. And she can be healed, man. Once these nations gather themselves around and start shooting off these missiles upon America, it's a done deal. Okay? See, verse 9 tells you that. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into our own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. And that's when the missiles comes in, and that nuclear mushroom is going to reach up to the heavens, man. Because millions of missiles, nuclear warheads are going to detonate here in America. All right, and you can see it as before America falls, that a lot of these nations are waking up to the fact that America ain't no golden city, man. All you do is come over here is work and get oppressed. So what they doing is they making their money and going back to their own land now. All right, so everybody's waking up to America for the shithole it is. Okay, this is not the great America that it was after World War I, when it was doubling up their economies and everything was booming and all that. That shit is done long gone, man. This is the nation of debt that's about to collapse, man. And in the moment that these nations stop trading oil in the dollar, forget about it, all right? Forget about it. America's done. The dollar's going to collapse, man. And a lot of these international currencies are going to feel it, all right? Which is the plan of the elites anyways, to get a one world currency with a one world bank. So when this dollar collapses, as you know, it's a fiat currency. All you got to do is watch that channel on YouTube called Gold and Silver. It's a fiat currency, and guess what? Fiat currency from the Greek drachma to the Roman denarius to the Germans Georgia Dark March, all of it is failed, man. It's 100% fail-proof, man. Fail. No fiat currency is ever lasted forever, man. You have a currency backed by absolutely nothing? You kidding me? Shit is gonna fall soon, man. And you people out there gotta wake the fuck up, talking about 401ks and what you're gonna do 50 years from. Man, this thing is on the verge of collapsing, man. America's on the verge of collapsing. Okay. The only thing they're gonna use to try to save this economy is gonna be what? The RFID microchip, man, which is the mark of the beast written in the book of Revelations. So they're trying to get rid of paper money and go to a cryptocurrency, all right? Credits and stuff like that. And as you can see, the way that America is moving, things are going according to their plans, man. All right? Look out for the fall of the U.S. dollar. This is also prophesied in the Bible. All right, now I'm gonna close out. This is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 9. It says, "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon the assembly of great nations." All right, the assembly of great nations. Well, that includes Russia, North Korea, China, Iran. All right, Great Britain, France, Germany, Turkey. All these different nations, man. They're gonna come up against Babylon. They're gonna turn their back on Babylon, man. Babylon just means a confused land. Okay, Babal land. Babal is confusion, law is land. So America's that confused land because you have homosexuality, transgenderism, bestiality, people having sex with the earth, people marrying their cars, just all types of confusion. It says an assembly of great nations from the North Country. What's that North Country? Russia. All right. Okay. Starts with Russia, but it doesn't just stop at Russia. You got North Korea. You got China. Okay. Yemen, Iran, these different allied nations to these particular countries, man. It says, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. The arrow shall be of a mighty expert man. So what's the arrows talking about? The arrows, listen, man, you can't shoot an actual arrow from one nation to the next. It's impossible. The arrows that it's referring to is the missiles. In fact, the defective missile is called a broken arrow. All right. When you look at the definition for arrow, the hypernym is missile. Okay, so the arrows that it's talking about is the missiles, man. And the bow is the nuclear silos. So why do you think the Mossad got these German scientists to create these things, man? And have the glittering sword, have them wanting their glittering sword. When I say what, I mean putting more advanced technologies into these missiles because they're going to be used, all right? They're the instrument of the Mossad's vengeance. That's why the Mossad got these particular nations building more and more missiles, man. It says their arrow shall be of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. So none of these missiles that when they get shot off and go hypersonic, all right, they ain't gonna be no duds. They're not gonna be bumping into each other. They're gonna be in a perfect array, like a perfect army, to come over here to make America desolate. That's the duties of these missiles, the blessed missiles of the Most High. Verse 10: Chaldea shall be a spoil. All right, Chaldea is talking about America. All the spoils, all that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith the Lord. All right, because right now Vladimir Putin, yeah, you being diplomatic, but listen, man, the Mossad is gonna put an evil thought in your mind. All right, that's if they don't assassinate you and put a puppet in there in Russia, but you're gonna be the guy, man. All right, you're gonna be the guy mentioned in Ezekiel 38 because right now your term doesn't end until 2024, so that third world war is gonna be long done in effect by 2024, man. All right. If Vladimir Putin, listen, man, the Mossad is going to work on your mind. He's going to put an evil thought in your mind. He's going to put that communist mindset back in your mind. Y'all going to get in that old Soviet Union spirit. So you're going to have Ukraine join you back, Turkey join you back in one mind, all right? Communist China is going to get in their shit back in their mind. And they're going to say, man, fuck this democracy. Fuck America, man. Let's just use our missiles and end these niggas because they keep embarrassing us. And you see America is embarrassing these particular nations, man. All right? Going around policing the world and telling how nations how they should rule and what they can and can't do. So that's pissing everybody off, breaking deals. Okay, but keep doing that because all you're doing is fulfilling these prophecies I'm bringing out, man. Verse 11: because ye were glad, because ye rejoice, O you destroyers of mine heritage, because ye are grown fat as the heifer, at grass and bellow as bulls, and you destroyers of the heritage of Israel, man. You go around here slaying the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans daily, man. All right? You got these cops shooting niggas in the back while their hands is up. As it says in Zechariah 11, verse 5, man. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. So all these things, man, all this blood you shedding, this innocent blood you shedding, or quote-unquote innocent, blood you shedding, man, of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Hey, man, even the nations are getting pissed off because you're shedding their quote-unquote innocent blood over there, bombing children in Yemen. Okay? That 5-year war in Yemen is like damn near 80,000 people have been dead, man. Which that's just a proxy war to get in Iraq. All this shit you're doing over there, Saudi Arabia is doing in Yemen, you going into Syria with drone strikes and airstrikes is all proxy wars to try to get in Iran because that's where the oil is. That's what y'all want. All right, so you fighting proxy wars and having hundreds of thousands of people being slain for your greedy ass dependence on oil. Hey, man, that's going to piss a lot of people off, man. You're going to see a lot of blowback from that, man. Verse 12, it says, your mother shall be sore confounded. All right? What's that talking about? Who's the mother of America? Great Britain. It says, she that bear you shall be ashamed. So Great Britain is going to be ashamed, man. All right? The British is going to be ashamed, and they're going to turn their back on you, man. All right? Even though they ally with you now, they're going to turn their backs on you, man. Britain, France, Germany, these particular allies of you that you got over there in Europe, they're going to turn their back on your ass. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Because the wrath of the Lord, Yahweh Shemiyah, it shall not be inhabited, all right, but shall be a wholly desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues, man. So just like Sodom and Gomorrah became a memorial for not to do, so shall America be, man. All right? And these different trade wars and sanctions that Donald Trump is putting upon these nations, hey, man, this is mustering up, all right, these particular prophecies that were just brought out through the Spirit, man. Hey, so with that, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, which you well, and salutations to the whole elect out there, man. You brothers that sincerely do this thing in truth and sincerity, and I pray to the Spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, you brothers edified. Shalom.